Hey guys, how you doing? Henry here, back with another, video for you, entrepreneur success stories. So you guys know that on this channel, my passion is to inspire you to achieve your personal and career goals. And one of the ways that we do it is actually by interviewing, entrepreneurs, who have managed to found or establish successful, organizations. So you guys, if you are new to this channel, a very warm welcome to you. Please subscribe. Let's grow. And if you're back again, thank you for your support. Yeah, we are now on 100 plus subscribers in only 4 weeks, guys. Man, thank you for the love. Keep sharing, keep subscribing, so we can continue, growing together. So today, I've got the pleasure of having Hugh Anderson, the CEO and owner of KLB Engineering, right? So I've got, the pleasure of having him here. So just for him to tell us, his story and, and how he got to where he is. So thank you very much, Hugh, for taking your time, to join me on this channel and to join, everybody. Just to tell us your story, man. So you are the CEO. I mean, we were discussing earlier on a few things. You're the owner of KLB Engineering. Can you tell us a bit about, what your company does and what, obviously, who you are and your sort of background?
Sure. Yeah, we basically import and distribute products. Most of the stuff comes from China. We've got the agency for a range of Italian brush cutters and chainsaws that come from Italy. And yeah, the company has been going since about 1980. It was my stepfather's company.
Oh, okay.
We bought it from him 2016. So we transitioned it from him. So it wasn't like a new startup as such, but we've taken over and then take it from there. Yeah, we basically fill our space that we work in, which is like your garden centers, your hardware stores, pump shops, lawnmower shops. That's our typical kind of customer that we aim for.
Wow, man, yeah. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I understand you've got like a staff complement of about 40 people.
Yes,
at the moment, who obviously you manage and you run your company as well with your awesome wife as well.
Yes.
And I said you're also a dad.
Yes.
So we're gonna talk about how you balance all these things out. At the end of the day, because I guess 2020 is about holistic success. Eh?
Yes.
It's not just success in one area; it's about holistic success.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about yourself. How did you end up? As you say that this was your stepfather's company. How do you end up now? Owning the company, or buying the company in 2016.
Yes.
How did that journey look like?
I think at school and that I didn't really enjoy like the whole studying kind of thing.
Okay.
I didn't do much of that. So I was always looking for an alternative way to trying to make a career one day that wasn't dependent on getting qualifications. So the business world seemed to be the most logical way where you can basically get paid for results rather than for like a qualification.
Yeah.
So I was just searching for where I could fit in there, and then my stepfather at that time obviously was working, and he mentioned, why don't I come and get involved? And that was after I tried a couple other things, job-wise, and then got involved there. I think it was around about 1999 or so.
Okay.
And then worked with him a lot. And kind of, that's kind of where it started.
Okay, so obviously I don't want to.
Yes, sorry.
So if you say 99, I would then calculate like your age and stuff. But I mean, what sort of was that like after high school, during high school, when you're like, now you can go and work with your, where you sort of made the decision to go and work with your
I think I matriculated in 95 and 96. There were 2 times. I did a second year of matric because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then, then did a bit of things, worked as a barman for a bit, sold some copiers.
That's interesting.
We tried to start a company with 2 other friends doing advertising. And then eventually ended up with my stepfather. Explained to him that I wanted to own my own business one day, and he said, come and learn, and started there. I thought I'd own a business a lot sooner than what I did. It took a lot longer than I thought, but it's because it took quite quite a few years, eh?
Quite a few
If
years.
you do the
Wow,
math on
man.
that, eh?
Man,
Yeah.
I think you mentioned some interesting things, you know,
Yes.
which a lot of young people these days, you know, have got the same concerns. I really also had the same concerns with regards to, you know, trying to figure out a career path, you know, especially after high school, you know, and things like that, you know, where exactly do you fit in? I think that's a big, you know, situation with you know, most of the young people these days. I certainly, you know, struggled a bit with that.
Yes.
You know, so how did you? So you did your own things for a
Yeah.
bit. You know, went out of the world. So what made you make that final decision? Say, you know what, I've done what I could. Maybe let me look at this, you know, this man who's established, and let me maybe see what I can learn from that.
I think what I was looking at is, to me, I want to choose a career that's that matched the lifestyle that I wanted. And within business, it seemed like you could carve out a lifestyle and you could manage a business in a way that it would match a lifestyle that you'd want from a time perspective. Because I realized like some careers are very time consuming. And there's different aspects to different careers that aren't always maybe explained up front to kids. And I think certain careers, if I'd gone down that path, I'd be very unhappy because of the requirements from a lifestyle. And going back to a thing like that holistic thing, to me, you want to try and choose a career that fits into the life and what you feel you need to be doing in life. So to me, a career needs to serve what you want to do rather than you serving a career, if that makes sense.
Oh man, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. So I mean, would you tell like the people
Yeah.
watching, you know, in terms of the key lessons you sort of learned, you know, from your, you know, your stepdad? I mean, you said you worked there from when? Is it 99?
99, I think.
To 2016 when you
Yes.
then acquired the business.
Yeah.
So that's
quite a
like
few years,
17
eh?
years, right?
Yeah.
So what sort of lessons did you learn? You know, how did that period prepare you to
Yeah.
eventually, you know, take, you know, like acquiring the business? You know, it wasn't handed to you. I mean, you
Yes.
actually had to make a decision to say,
Yeah.
like, I'm going to purchase this business. You know, what key lessons did you learn that you can tell the people?
I think one of the biggest ones, probably the biggest to me, was with my stepfather. We obviously got on along quite well to last that long, but we also didn't get along on a lot of things. We didn't always agree on a lot of stuff. So to me, one of the big things, and I think it is maybe linked to actually being able to buy it, was a revelation around authority.
Okay.
And how that works, because to me, when you've got different parties, you're not always going to agree on stuff. So what I found was it was actually like in a spiritual context, reading through like where David and Saul, they were cut off like a part of Saul's thing, and he understood like Saul's authority in that thing.
Yeah.
And the revelation to me came on that you don't have to, submission to authority doesn't require your agreement always.
Okay.
So it actually helped our relationship a lot when I realized that I didn't have to win the argument, and that I'd bring my perspective and I'd offer it, and that'd be my contribution. If it was taken or not, I'm not liable for what I don't have authority over. And that released a lot, and that also helped our relationship a bit, and I think maybe release the next bit, if that makes sense. I don't know if I've articulated quite.
No, that's
well
perfect,
enough,
man.
but
That's perfect.
Because sometimes you almost feel like if you're right, you have to get
Win.
the results.
I need to
But if you
win.
don't have the authority, you don't have to. You're not ultimately responsible for the outcome.
No, that's key. That's key.
So that was the one. And then, to be honest, another big thing has been giving and generosity. I think a lot of things, I can almost chronologically go back, and on different moments of being generous, it's opened doors and possibilities. And so I see generosity almost as like it's almost like gravity. Even if you don't believe, it still works. I remember when I started that company with the two other guys, the one guy was 100% non-believer, and he actually hated God, and he was verbal about it. But he told me a story the one time that he says when these people come to the offices and they ask for charity, he says you should give them because it actually helps your business.
Oh, wow.
And that was from someone who actually doesn't believe at all. So it works kind of like gravity. It's there.
Yeah.
If you do it, not necessarily the best motivation, because I think it's not really why you want to do it. It's to, you don't want to be giving to get, but it's a big thing. I think to me, the biggest lesson outside of the one around submission to authority was around purpose, because
Yeah.
there's no point in actually chasing money
Mm.
if there's no purpose. The money in itself is pointless and it means nothing,
Mm.
because you can collect as much as you want, but you can't do anything with it when you're dead.
No, that's
So if we've got purpose in what we're doing, there's a lot of energy that comes from that. So to me, to define the purpose of why we're working
Yeah.
makes working
It's
important.
important, yeah,
Yeah.
and impactful at the end
Yes.
of the day. So I
Yeah.
think you mentioned something, I mean, in terms of authority, and your relationship with your boss at the time, like
Yes.
you can say, but that was your boss at the time with regards to this, this marketplace dynamic and the employment relationship that you actually had.
Yes.
Right? And you mentioned something which I think is quite key these days with regards to authority, in the sense that, your boss is your boss, and it's
Yeah.
your boss, and he's your boss for a reason.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and it's better for you to submit to that authority, because these days, I think the biggest conversation sometimes you hear, with young people who are employed, or people who are employed generally, is the issue with their boss.
Yeah.
I also happen to be employed in employment law, so
Yeah.
I mean, this is where the rubber meets the road.
Yes.
We're always hearing these issues about, how my boss didn't like me, how my boss, didn't, was not treating me fairly, and things like that,
Yeah.
And it's sort of, you found a way how to navigate that, because you're like, I'm here to serve this man and
Yes.
serve this vision
Yeah.
at the end of the day, and that's what I'm going to do. Then I'm not here to sort of win, whatever argument or whatever battles we have in between. I'm
Yeah.
here to learn. So in terms of the business, what would you say you actually learned? Like, let's say from obviously logistics perspective, you said you work with regards to you import goods.
Yes.
Obviously, what practical skills did you learn about the business during that time?
Because when we started, we were quite a lot smaller than what we are now. I think when I started, we had, 7 or 8 people.
Wow.
So we got involved in a lot more of the stuff. So we used to offload a container, like everyone would get involved to offload the container, because we didn't have enough people to get to offload a container. So we did everything. I think I started packing parcels, like for deliveries.
Wow, you
And
started-
fetching things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my first job. And then I did sales. And I think sales is a good thing, because you get a lot of honest feedback. Customers they tell it to you straight. How it is.
Yeah, that's it.
And then, you can deal with how you want after that. So that feedback obviously is very valuable, because if you take it and you adjust, then you can add a lot of value. So to me, I think it's about value. I think even as an employee, if you're adding more value than what you're taking,
Wow.
then it's going to go forward. Whatever you're doing as an employee, people are going to want to pay you more if you're adding more value than what you're taking.
Yeah.
So as a company, if you can add more value than what you're asking, people are going to want to do more business with you. And to me, I think for us growing, the key to me is to keep what you got and look after what you have, and then to add to that. You don't want to be chasing stuff and then dropping stuff, because otherwise you kind of could be just treading water.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to lose any customers. Outside of guys that don't pay. But ideally, you don't want to lose a single customer. And then we want to add to that and build on it. And then we build and we go forward.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Guys, if you're getting any value out of this, man, hit that like button, man.
Yeah.
Share with your friends if you haven't shared, this video right now. So, I mean, that's awesome. And you talk about, at adding value,
Yes.
and there's this common, phrase, which you hear sometimes, people who are saying that, I don't get paid enough for this.
Yes.
So from what you're saying, it seems as if that's actually what you should do. As an employee, you should actually be in that situation whereby that I'm actually doing more that I'm actually being paid for. The value, and I think it's something to be proud of.
Yes.
Rather than to complain about.
Yeah. I think also, like for us as well, we acknowledge like perfection is something that you can't really strive for, because it's not attainable. And if you're aiming for perfection, you're not going to attain it, and you're going to be demoralized and frustrated. But you can aim for excellence. So excellence sounds similar, but it's not exactly the same. So it's some of the language we try to use at work is that excellence is an incremental or just a small improvement on what you're doing. So if you're doing this, if you can be more excellent and take it up a notch, and then when you're there, hold that ground and take it up a notch.
Wow.
And there's room for to be more excellent in everything we're doing. So, and it's not a big requirement to do just a little bit better. And if you continue doing these little bit better, you build momentum in the right direction. And over a longer period of time, you can actually measure a big difference by taking the little bits. And it's exciting to see progress, because I think if we made in God's image, we were pretty much made to improve and to expand and to so it kind of like resonates with who we are.
No, that's
we're not really meant to go backwards, I don't think.
no, that's true, man. And you said something important just now, where you mentioned the issue of holding on to what you have and actually improving on it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's a tendency whereby whereby, and I had the same challenge that you sort of get a degree.
Yes.
Then you're like, but I don't want to use this anymore. Instead of try to figure out how you can actually use what you have.
Yes.
But I think there's a frustration that, of course, sometimes you might get into a career, or you can get into an educational course where you really don't have enough knowledge about,
Yes.
And when you're actually doing it, you feel that, I really, this is not for me. But what's the way you can just capitalize on what you already, those experiences that you already have, then you can actually, build on to the next thing, rather than just throwing away, as Pastor Chavaro says, I think it's the baby with the dirty bathwater.
Yes.
So you can, yes, you can make a mistake,
Yeah.
but don't throw away, the experiences that you already have.
Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, you mentioned something earlier when you say that you actually failed in business
Yes.
quite a couple of times.
Yeah.
What are some of the lessons you got there in terms of that, and trying to, obviously, it might be a disappointing experience, but how did you sort of, try to value those experiences and apply some of the lessons now?
I think if you look around, anyone who's been successful in anything has failed.
Yeah.
So to me, I think failure is par for the course. So if you're not failing, then you're not really trying. So to me, failure isn't something that is scary or a problem. It's almost evidence that we're trying more things. So we try a lot of things. Some work, some don't.
Yeah.
If they don't work, we try to fix them as quickly as possible and deal with things. But by trying more things, you create more opportunities.
Wow.
Also, I think, to me as well, like generally, if you look around, every single problem that exists poses opportunities for different success or different things. So a lot of what we've done has been around different issues. So in the country, there was a drought in Cape Town. We benefited quite well eventually through selling water filtration stuff and pumps for that, because guys are looking for different ways of treating the water. With load shedding, we sell generators.
Wow.
So if you look around, there's other issues where in the country where things maybe aren't getting done right. They're all opportunities for guys to get involved and to make a success of it.
Guys, we have to get involved, man. And
Yeah.
I like what you're saying, that it's not about, sometimes we get, consumed with the negativity. Sometimes you can get so angry about load shedding, but maybe there's actually, an opportunity for you there.
I think there definitely is an opportunity in every single one of them. Just take someone who's got enough energy and determination to find the opportunity within it.
Yeah, in the right mindset. You need to make sure that you're getting out of you have the right mindset at the end of the day. And so one crazy story, I think Pastor Tafaro was just telling me that I was on the call with you. I think we had some sessions, Grace in the Marketplace sessions, guys. This book, Grace in the Marketplace, I referred to it a lot. In these videos, man.
Yeah.
And I think Pastor Tafaro told me that you never believe there's a guy who's bought like all my copies, at the time,
Yeah.
So I just wanted to find out, because this is really, this book is about empowering, people at the end of the day, and showing them that God has strategies for success in the marketplace. How important has your spiritual journey been for you in terms of your business success? How does that impact you?
I think it's massive. I think, to me, if you look at most of us, you go to church on maybe a Sunday, you maybe go midweek. The rest of the week is much more time than the rest of the week. So the rest of the week technically has to count more in terms of the influence that the rest of us that aren't involved in full-time ministry have to actually live out. And I think that's where our jobs, whatever, whether we're working for someone, whether we got a business or whatever, that's where we work it out in. So it's massive. I actually read the book at the beginning of the lockdown, and it was actually profound for me because it gave me so much energy for the lockdown, and made me look at the lockdown in a different way. I think it also challenged my understanding of God's his intention for us and how much he digs us and he wants to bless us.
Wow.
So I wake up every morning and try to renew my mind around like what's God got for us today. And he came through for us massively. We did really well in the lockdown and through it.
Wow, man. These guys did very well in the lockdown.
So it ended up being quite fun eventually because there was just so much opportunity. And I think sometimes we want to know what's going to happen next year and the year after, but we miss the today. So my challenge has been to actually to try and think about today and maximize today, because sometimes we get fixated on tomorrow, which we don't even guarantee that tomorrow will even come for all of us. And we miss today and what God's got for us today. Because today there's opportunities, there's stuff that's just for today, that we need to really maximize and exploit to its fullness. And then tomorrow there'll be other ones. And we don't want to be chasing tomorrow and missing what's going on today.
Wow, man, that's very important, guys. I mean, just sticking to today, sticking to today and what's today, not worrying too much about, what's going to happen tomorrow. I mean, that is very key, man. And I like you, man. I like that you are someone who gets and looks for opportunities even in difficult times. By simply saying that, there may be opportunities in this. Like changing your mindset. You say renewing your mind to opportunities. That may actually, come. That may actually be present.
Yeah.
Rather than listening to the noise. At the end of the day. I mean, that's powerful. That's powerful.
I think during the lockdown, I try to renew my mind specifically around this at the beginning of every morning. Just think like, God, what have you got today for us? I'm going to do whatever I can that I've got time and energy for that's in front of us. And I know that whatever we do, you're going to add your bit on top of that. And then we're just going to be grateful for whatever you do.
Wow, man. Guys, I mean, if this concept of mind renewal and renewing your mind, you've never heard about it, man, I'll encourage you, check out this book, Grace in the Marketplace, man. I'm going to put a link in the description below how you can get it on Kindle, and things like that, so that, you can just learn and see, what else, how else can I be, applying myself to actually get results that I actually need. Yeah. So how else do you develop yourself, personally, in terms of, do you read other books and personal development books or things like this?
I have read a couple. I think, to be honest, this is probably one of the best books I think I've ever read around this stuff. I've read a couple other autobiographies, but the danger sometimes with autobiographies is you try and learn other people's habits. And to be honest, some of my story, because God works all things for the good of those who love him and that kind of thing. So he can take my mistakes and he can make them successes. But the mistake part that he worked for good is not necessarily part that you want to copy. And that's where maybe some of the personal help, some of the guys' journeys, they're not necessarily you want to copy everything. And I think God's got different things for each person. So I think I'm convinced of that God wants to have a relationship with everyone. And it's that relationship that he's after. And sometimes those stories can be encouraging, but I know in the past for myself, sometimes the danger is you almost want to copy them or mimic them in terms of a route to success. But whereas with God, he's got a plan for everyone, and they're all going to be kind of bespoke and unique for the individual. And you don't want to take a version of someone else's and have a copied version instead of your own version, because your own version is going to be so much more powerful and dynamic.
I mean, I like that, man. I like that at the end of the day, you need to figure out, what does God have for you personally, at the end of the day, what is your purpose? And I like that there are different, we all can get different, experiences at the end of the day with regards to our own personal journeys. Yeah, man. So I mean, before we go, I just wanted to find out from you, what advice would you have to someone watching, maybe, someone who's trying to say, what's the way forward? There's this global shift that has actually happened with regards to this whole situation and the lockdowns and things like that. what should my next move be? You
Yeah.
know, what sort of mindset should I get? You know, maybe someone has been retrenched, they've lost their business. You know, what advice do you have for them?
I would say that there's opportunities now that didn't exist before this,
Wow.
but they're going to need to be looked for and sought out. And I think I don't think I'm convinced that God has solutions that He's waiting for His kids to come and get from Him, and they're unique per kid, per child, and they'll be different to you, to me, to the next guy. And He's waiting for us to go get them, because it's not so much the success that He's after, but the journey with each of us that He wants to be a part of. And He wants to do it with us and through us. So, and that's why He doesn't just give us the outcome, because He's not so determined or fixated around the actual outcome as He is the relationship with us and the whole process, day by day. So I would say, look for them, ask God for to reveal them and to open doors. But when you do get any opportunities, even if they're small, be faithful with them. And give them everything you've got, even if they're small to start with. Be someone that gives more than you take.
Wow, give more than you take.
Yeah,
That's
I think
key.
that's then things will change, eh?
Yeah. No, that's important advice there. And just in terms of, you know, I know, you know, you guys, you employ like 40 people. You know, so as an employer, you know, I think you are, you know, best suited just to just give someone advice, maybe someone who's looking for a job, you know, about to go for an interview or whatever. You know, what sort of employee are employers looking for right now?
Yeah.
You know, what sort of employees are employers looking for right now?
I think for us, we look for, if you've got someone who looks like they're just coming to collect a paycheck and they want to do what's required to get a paycheck, it's hard, because you continually got to tell them what to do. If you've got someone who wants to be part of what you're doing, and they want to be invested in the whole process, and do you know what I mean? They want to be like almost like fully integrated into whatever they can and soak up as much as they can of the thing and be fully immersed in what we're doing and how we're doing it, then that's a lot more valuable to us. Do you know what I mean? Someone who really wants to be there, and then the paychecks and that follow, and increases in that follow, and promotions and that follow.
And I think that's quite key, you know, to not only talk about, because I mean, people talk a big game in interviews. Man, I've done a couple of interviews, so I know this. You say that, you know, I can do whatever you want, but when they just ask you to work overtime, you know, man, it's a big issue. But you're the one who came saying that you do everything, you know. But that issue of, you know what, let's seek, you know, when you know. Show people that you really want to, you know, to add value.
Yes.
You know, that you really are concerned, you know how their business works, and you really want to add value at the end of the day.
And that you care about the outcome in terms of what the business is desired outcome is, in terms of what they're trying to achieve. If you as an employee are orientated around what the business's outcome and is not your specific role, then you'll look further than just what's needed at a given time.
Man, that's key, guys. So I mean, for all you guys out there, you know, looking for, you know, new opportunities, looking to better yourself, you know, looking and saying, you know, what do employers, you know, what are they looking for? You know, I mean, this is some good advice, you know, right here. You know, this is some good advice. And one thing I also say is, don't wait sometimes to, you know, put out CVs and things like that. Maybe you can look for somewhere you can volunteer, you know, even if it's, you know, for free.
Yes.
You know, what do you think about that? You know?
No, that's actually like an interesting, because I remember hearing a guy many years ago, like right in the beginning, and he actually shaped some of my thinking around business. He was an American guy. I think he's passed away now, but he came from an Amish background. And he started working in the Great Depression, where obviously there was no jobs around. And he'd just become born again believer. So he'd left his family because they had sort of like ostracized him, and he now needed to find a job. And there was no jobs available anywhere. And no one was employing anyone. They were actually letting people off. So he ended up going to a garage, I think it was. And he says he went there and he asked them for if they had space, and obviously they didn't. So eventually he said to the owner of the garage, he says, "Can you let me work for the week? And at the end of the week, you decide what I was worth, if I was worth anything." He says, "If I'm not worth anything, There's no strings attached. I'll walk away. I won't resent you. You've got no obligation to pay me anything. He says, at the end of the week, the owner said, come around next week, and he gave him some money for it. He says, because he added so much value that he hadn't asked to be paid for, but the owner said, the value you've brought me is so much, I can't justly let you go away without giving you something. And then eventually he became full-time. He ended up buying the garage because the owner said that this guy loves the business more than I do.
Wow.
So he eventually structured a deal and sold it to him over time. And that was the first business he bought. By the time I heard him speak, I think he had something more than 70 different businesses.
Wow.
But it was through this work ethic and this investing more than what you're getting kind of principle. So, and that was in the Great Depression, which technically, statistically, is probably worse than we've ever been in.
Wow,
that
man.
was kind of like the worst of the worst. So, yeah, it's probably not a bad idea to volunteer and show someone what you can do.
Wow.
Because if you can add value, no one's going to want to let you go.
Man, guys, I mean,
They'll find a way to pay you.
They'll find a way to
Yeah.
pay you, man, and retain you. And that's a classical story, a classical example of how you can actually transition, not only from joblessness, but even from employment
Yeah.
to shareholding and owning your own business, man. That's quite an amazing story. So, I
Yeah.
mean, just in conclusion, man, what's the one skill you'd say employees should have at this present time? Just the one skill, yeah.
Sure. I think it's a willingness, eh?
Yeah.
I think someone who cares, eh? That's so someone who's vested. Like to me, it's attitude.
Attitude.
More than anything else, because it doesn't matter if you don't have the skills. You can learn skills.
Yeah.
But if your attitude is bad, I can't change your attitude. But we can put
Teach
you on
you
courses. You can
Yeah.
be mentored. You can understudy someone. You can learn skills quickly if you want to. So if your attitude's good, you can do anyone with a good attitude.
Wow.
But if your attitude's bad, yeah, there's not much you can do with that, eh?
No, that's true, man. Thank you very much, man, for taking your time out, to join us,
Yeah.
just to, to give us, that advice and just to inspire us as well to do better, and also to just know that, there's so much more out there, Thank you very much for your time, man. And thank you, man. Guys, man, we love you.
Yeah.
And we'll see you on the next video. Share this broadcast before you sign out. Cheers, guys.